Hello, and welcome to this session of the Performance Coach Virtual Leadership Summit on creating and sustaining your personal leadership vision and mission. My name is Beth Chadwick. I'm an associate here at the Performance Coach. Over the past 25 years, I've worked in organizational effectiveness and organizational development. And in the last 15 years, I've been based in the UK working with manufacturing, engineering, and utility companies. My experience as an executive coach and head of talent has allowed me to work with leaders at all levels of the business. And the reason I thought this topic was important is the leaders that I've worked with who have been most successful have had a very clear vision and mission to guide them personally through their environments and through their careers. So, what are we going to cover today? Today we're going to look at what is a personal vision and mission and why is that important for leaders. We'll then spend a little bit of time thinking about how I create a personal vision and mission, evaluating how I know it's effective, and deciding when I should change it. This session will take about 30 minutes, so you may want to have a paper and pen handy to jot down some notes. You also may want to turn off any other applications that you may be operating just because sometimes that interferes with the sound quality. Also, if you already have a personal vision and mission, if you have that to hand, it may also be good to have as you can evaluate your own work as we go through this session. Before we start, let's just take a minute to check in. If you're like me, some of you are just dialing in from a busy day and just trying to get your head clear and just so you can focus. So let's look at a few simple questions to help get us in the space where we can make the session most effective. How present are you for today's session? What do you need to do to get the most out of today's session? And finally, what's your learning objective for this session? What's the one or two things that you really hope that you can learn as we go through the next 30 minutes? Okay, so let's dive in. What is a personal vision statement? Vision is about direction. Vision is about goals. You wouldn't lead your business or your team without direction. And if you haven't taken the time to create a vision statement for yourself, now may be the perfect time. Vision and performance are often correlated. When an organization has a clear vision statement that all employees know, there's a high correlation to success and long-term performance. I first came across the most successful personal vision statement of a leader about 15 years ago, and I was privileged enough to work with the CEO of an automotive manufacturing company. And we were getting ready to introduce some large-scale changes, and we sat around his desk one afternoon. I said, "So what's your personal vision for this?" I'm not quite sure I had thought through the question, but I knew it was the right question to ask. And he paused, and he sat back in his chair, and he looked at me, and he said, "For me, business success is about the business vision. But for me, my personal vision for success is having a highly effective team that gets along and that is excited and proud to be part of this organization. And when we're really successful as a leadership team, we'll go home on time on a Friday. And sometimes on a Friday, maybe every quarter or two, we'll go to my house and have a barbecue or sit around the dining room table and reflect on how well the business is doing and how well we're working as a team." Now, I've shortened the story a bit, but as he told it, you could see that he was visualizing every member of his team sitting on his patio getting ready for a barbecue. And to this day, as I think about that story, the hair on the back of my neck stands up because he was so passionate both about the business and about his role as a leader and what it could do for the business. So when we think about a vision, it really is about focusing on the future. It answers the question, where do I want to be? And it helps you create a mental image of that desired optimal future state. It helps you focus on 3-5 years' time because so often in today's world we're stuck on next week or this Friday. And as a leader, it's important that you lift your head up and get that strategic view for you and your career. The other important thing about a vision is it answers the question why you're doing what you do. Why is it important to you? Why does it sit at the core of your being? Why do you want to work towards achieving this? Now, once leaders get a vision statement of what they want to achieve and why they're so passionate about it, the most logical thing then is to put the mission statement behind it. A company's mission statement should help you make decisions, should help a business make decisions, and your personal mission statement should do the same. A mission statement answers the question, how will I get there, to the image that you create in your vision. So if you consider your career so far, what would be the 3 words that you could write down that describe how you do things? How do you achieve? Let's just take a second for you to jot those 3 words down. When you think about your how, what are they? What makes you unique? How would people describe the way you do things? And as you look at those words, are they words that make you satisfied, make you excited, make you curious, or make you a little concerned that you may be just treading water? When you create a mission statement, you gain clarity, you get centered on your how. And this should help you make decisions. It should help you make sure that you're on track and help you move direction if you're not on track. The other piece about a mission statement is that it should act as your moral compass. So you know what's important to you from your values, from your beliefs. And the mission statement describing your how should help you stay aligned and start to create or strengthen that sense of authenticity that you have as a leader. So let's look at a mission statement from someone who has achieved. What you see on your screen is the mission statement of Denise Morrison, who's the CEO of Campbell's Soup. And you see she says her mission is to serve as a leader, live a balanced life, and apply ethical principles that make a significant difference. And if you read the whole article about Denise Morrison, you do get a strong sense that for her, it is about being true to herself, being authentic as a leader, which enables her then to lead her business well. And if you read the bits on the screen there, she has some really stretched targets in there. She says, for her, the mission statement is about creating a strong sense of who you are and what you stand for. And a balanced life in terms of academic, physical, and spiritual is important because well-being and self-esteem are important. And if you think about times in your career when you've been leading and you haven't been at your best, when you haven't felt like this is the right job or you're doing the right thing for the right reasons, you know what an impact that can have both on your decision-making and your health. And when you create a vision and mission statement, you start to align yourself more regularly to what's right for you. That compass and direction come into play so you can make better decisions for you as a leader, and those better decisions will impact both yourself, your teams, and hopefully your family and the people around you. So, what do most leaders need? As leaders, we often look after everyone but ourselves. It's kind of our job to make sure that the business and your teams perform. The other piece is leading can be quite lonely. Sometimes we find ourselves in political environments where it's not always safe to share our thoughts or our personal ambitions. And that may be sad, but it's the case that in some businesses your personal pieces need to stay personal. The other piece about a mission and a vision is that reflection is really essential for health and for authentic leadership. As leaders, you do your best when you allow time to take stock of the why, the how, and the what. And that's what your vision and mission get you. So let's have a little exploration of your own personal vision and mission. So if you already have one and it's out, you can look at it. If not, these questions just should help you start to put a point in time and start to create the map of where you want to go. So when you started this career that you're in right now, is this where you thought you'd be? When you look around you, are these the things that you wanted to be achieving? And if so, how have you achieved it? What have you done to help make this happen? If this isn't the career you planned, but you find yourself on this path, do you like the path you're on? How's it working for you? When you think about a vision of where you want to be in 3 to 5 years, or even longer, and the mission of how you want to get there, when you look at the path you're on, is it aligning, whether that be unintentional or intentional? And how does that feel for you? The other question you need to ask yourself is, how often do you reflect on what you've achieved and how you've achieved it? If you're like most of the leaders I work with, we put that on the calendar for Friday afternoon or for the car ride home or for Saturday morning while we're driving the kids around, and we think, oh, I'll think about that tomorrow, or I'll think about that on the weekend. When in reality, if you book time to reflect on where you are, how you are, and what you're doing, your sense of authentic leadership, your sense of balance starts to regain itself. The other question, which seems quite obvious, is, but do you know where you want to be in the next 2 to 3 years or the next 5 years? In today's business, we're driven by deadlines, and sometimes that means Friday afternoon, sometimes that means a week on Friday, but rarely do we spend time looking 2 to 3 years out for ourselves, let alone 5 years. We may do it for a business, but we don't necessarily do it for ourselves. And if you were to answer that question and jot down 2 or 3 words, well, even 2 or 3 sentences, about where you want to be in the next 2 to 3 years, don't think about the job title. Think about the type of work you want to be doing. Is it work that would allow you to manage bigger, more complex projects? Is it about developing teams so they can create better results? Is it about choosing an industry that really aligns with your personal sense of values? So where do you want to be in the next 2 to 3 years or 5 years? And in 30 minutes, we're not going to get to the deepest answers on those questions, but they're important to reflect on. The other piece to consider is, would knowing the answers to the questions you see on this page make a difference, make an impact on you and those whom you lead? And I believe they will, because part of the vision and mission is about getting a sense of authenticity and feeling like you can be true to yourself as you achieve those goals. So for those of you who like theory, let's look at the theory behind some of this. Peter Senge, in his book, The Fifth Discipline, there's a whole chapter on personal mastery, and he says those are the elements that come together to create a vision and a mission. But for him, personal mastery is about success and authenticity. So when we look at the 3 pieces that he thinks are core elements to this, he says it's personal vision. And we've talked a bit about that. What's important for Senge about the personal vision is that sense of purpose. So if your vision does not have a sense of purpose, a reason for being, a reason of being, then pursuing your vision is pointless. And so when you think about Denise Morrison, she said, to make a difference. When you think about the CEO that I talked about from the manufacturing company, it was about developing others to have a sense of achievement. The other piece that Senge works on is creative tension. And he usually displays attention as with the picture that you see on your screen of the 2 hands holding a rubber band. And what he says is that there must be a tension between vision and reality. And you can resolve that tension in 2 ways. You can drop the upper hand, which is the vision, to come closer to the lower hand, and all the tension on the rubber band slackens. But then your sense of achievement, your sense of direction, when you're attaining your vision, will never happen. What Senge says is that as your reality changes, as your lower hand comes closer to your top hand has to keep reaching and lifting, because that tension gives you creativity, and it gives you the ability to change and to think about change and to move change and move your life in a way that makes sense and is aligned to your vision. So creativity is an important word. Creative tension is an important word, because there has to be a gap in order for the vision and the personal mastery to be compelling. The final piece that Senge makes is about a commitment to the truth. And this is about understanding your truth and understanding what's important for you, back to kind of the why you do it from the vision perspective. Because when you understand your truth, it allows you to step back, almost take a third-person view of the situation you're in, and objectively analyze and challenge the structure or the events that are unfolding. So instead of getting yourself emotionally sucked into some of the day-to-day dynamics of a work life, if you're committed to the truth and you know your personal truth, you also have the ability to step back and be objective about the situations that are unfolding around you. And once you're able to step back and be objective and challenge, you're able to sustain that creative tension. And it also should allow you to make more concrete, effective decisions to keep you on the path of achieving your mission and your vision. So, what does this mean for us as leaders? When you look at Denise Morrison's mission statement, it shows all of the elements of Senge's principles. So, she wanted to make a difference, and that aligns with her vision. The tension for her is leading a company the size of Campbell's Soup and looking after her own health, whether that be her spiritual, her physical, or her intellectual. And creating the time to look after herself will definitely force some creativity. She will have to be creative in how she manages herself and how she makes time to look after herself. The other piece is about commitment to the truth, and she needs to ensure she has a strong sense of who she is. Again, that word authentic leadership comes through, that by having a strong sense of who you are supports her and supports her teams and gives her organization a sense of confidence because she's working from a very centered, balanced core. So you do get a sense of stretch when you learn more about Denise Morrison, and then you look at some of the words you've jotted down as we've gone through this session. Are you seeing the stretch you want? Are you starting to understand what is at your core in terms of your commitment to your truth or your values? All of those elements should become more and more important to you. So let's take a moment to look at personal vision. Again, for those of you who have a vision statement, it may be helpful to get it out. But in general, when you think about your career, you think about looking after yourself, do you have a future focus? Do you know where you want to be in 2 years, 3 years, 10 years? Is your vision tangible? Can you describe it in a minute or less? Does it inspire you? Does it spark that creativity that Senge talks about in terms of creative tension? Do you want to get out of bed every day because you're working on making it happen? And how close are you to achieving this? If you think about where you are right now, and you think that you're close to achieving your mission or your vision, or using your mission to achieve your vision, maybe it's time to create a new one. Thomas Bubendorfer, who is a soul climbing specialist and a inspirational speaker, says, "True professionals never reach their goals. They just continue to set themselves higher and higher challenges." So as you think about how you spend your time, as you think about how you're shaping your career, what is the next big challenge for you? And how aligned is it to where you want to be in terms of your future vision? So remember, the vision is about where you want to be and why you want to do it. If we look then at mission, it is the how you will do what you do. So when you think about your mission, or think about creating your mission, so it helps you achieve your vision, what will you do? And on some levels, that's quite a simple question. What will you do? And another level, it's quite immense. Because what will you do? Because in some cases, you could do anything or everything. So what is it that you will really do? And how will you do it? So look back at those 3 words that described how you do what you do when we started this session. And are those the 3 or 4 words that describe how that you're really proud of? Are those the 3 or 4 words that you would want others to use when they describe you and your manner and who you are as an authentic leader? The other piece about your mission is paying attention to what will be different as you start to make progress. I know I've mentioned pace and the pace of business today quite often in this session, but we do get caught up in pace. And again, if we don't set aside time for reflection and we don't think about what will be different when we start to make progress, when we start to get success, we may not pay attention to where we're going. We may not understand that we are actually moving forward. We may not understand that it may be time to reset our vision because we're getting so close. The other piece about your mission is, does it suggest an element of tension? And does that tension spark ideas? So, do you know when you're really excited about something and you get really creative? You know, things start to spark left, right, and center, whether you're by yourself thinking or in a group. If your mission makes you excited and sparks ideas, thinking about how could I do this and what about this, and always looking for new avenues, chances are your mission is working for you. The other piece about your mission is, will it help you stay curious? I once worked with a leader who was actually 69 years old and not looking to retire. And his favorite question, he was always, and how will that work? And what about that? And what about that? And although he was 69, sometimes it was like working with a 3-year-old because he kept asking why and how and why and how. And some of his team got really worn out by those questions. But I found it fascinating that a man at 69 years of age who had led business for over 40 years was still asking why and how with everything that was presented to him. And I found his curiosity inspiring. The final piece about your mission is, does it speak your truth? So remember, Senge said it helps you stay objective. It moves you to a third person so you can sit back from a situation and analyze objectively what's going on. The other piece, when you see authentic leaders, you see leaders who are really, really true to themselves, is they're able to take criticism and really reflect on what they're doing and how they're doing and change. So when you start speaking your truth and you start understanding your truth and you stay open to that challenge, your mission, your plan becomes stronger and more sound, and you as a leader become more resilient. So, mission and vision, vision and mission. Is it really making a difference? For the leaders I've worked with who have taken the time to do and create a vision and mission and do the reflection, it does make a difference because it helps them shape their journey. And you wouldn't start a journey without some type of roadmap, and that's what these are. We've talked a little bit about taking time to pause and reflect. I think if we were to take a few minutes now, the questions you see could be quite helpful for you. So what's happening in my life and career right now? Some of you will want to answer our questions with words. Some of you may find it helpful to draw just a few pictures on a blank page. What evidence do I have about the progress I'm making? What do you see happening around you? What are your signs, even small signs, that success is really starting to build? What feels right about my current situation? I have worked with engineering organizations over the last 15 years, and we always ask ourselves what's wrong, and then we go about fixing it. But sometimes, as a leader, it's important to understand and reflect on what's right. If you take the appreciative inquiry view of things, when you start looking at what's right and focusing on what's right and building off of that, you gain momentum much faster. And finally, what would I change? So what are the tweaks that you need to make to get yourself realigned to your vision? Or what are some big scale changes that you want to make to feel more authentic as a leader? As you reflect on those answers, review your vision and mission, or start to think about what yours would look like if you don't have one. But if you do have one, if you're aligned, if those questions line up to the vision that you set yourself, the next question is, what else do you need to do? If you're no longer aligned, it's now time to take time to think through where you want to be in the future and how exactly you want to get there. So, final thoughts. Taking care of our own journeys is one of the biggest challenges that we have. Investing time in ourselves is really important. Consider how you lead and develop your own teams and apply those principles to yourself. And setting your own vision and mission is an investment worthy of the time it takes. And once you do this, and once you start to define success in your own terms, and it will help keep you on track to achieving that success. So with that, I'd like to thank you for joining us today. Again, my name is Beth Chadwick, and you can access me via the Performance Coach website and email, and I hope you've enjoyed the session. Thanks so much.